Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome into another exciting Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants broadcast with us here. If you're new to us, like quite a few of you are today, we are all about bringing conservation, adventure, and science into classrooms around the world. Now, everything we do goes to our YouTube channel. So if you want to check out this program in 3 weeks or 3 years, or like 3,500 other programs featuring the coolest scientists and explorers on planet Earth, you can head there and do just that. Now, last year, we did 2 really fun series. We did one with Frontiers for Young Minds, which is an amazing organization that partners cool scientists with kids like you to write articles that any kid in the world can understand and have fun with. They're awesome. We also did an even bigger series with the amazing folks at If Then She Can. Now, If Then celebrates and showcases the coolest women in science, technology, engineering, and math on planet Earth. They've got 125 amazing ambassadors. We did a 16-part series with them last year. It was awesome. Now, by complete fluke, this year, those 2 organizations partnered together on an epic series. Now, they have this epic, amazing collection. You can check it all out there without 2 Ks at the front of it. I don't know how that got there, but an amazing series featuring all sorts of really cool articles featuring the If Then ambassadors. We've got a 10-part series with them. So if you want to learn from librarians or forest technicians, earlier we talked about pikas today, there's lots of cool opportunity to keep the learning going. Now, I want to note too, before we go live with our classes, we have a Kahoot today. So between our talk and our Q&A, you can play along with a little 4-question quiz, test your understanding, have a little bit of fun. Feel free to do that. If you just want to yell out the answers in your class, that is totally fine. Now, I'm going to welcome in our speaker du jour, Dr. Katy Croff Bell, who is an ocean explorer. She gets to go down and explore some of the coolest habitats, ecosystems on planet Earth using robots herself, go out in the deep ocean in epic ships. It's like the coolest job you can have on planet Earth. And she's also got a wicked awesome map behind her too. So, Katy, welcome back to the broadcast. It's so nice to see you again. And I'll give you a chance to say a quick hello before I highlight how we're going to do today's broadcast in a little bit of a different way.
Thanks so much, Jesse. Hi, everybody. I'm super excited to be here today and talk about the deep sea. I might guess that some of you might be involved with a Lego Submerged competition this year. We've had a lot of people reaching out, a lot of classrooms that are really excited about it and doing a lot of research on the ocean right now. So I'm hoping that I might get some questions related to your research that you're doing.
I'm very excited about that. We're going to share that with all our registered classes too. We've got a nice mix. So if you have no idea what we're talking about with Lego Submerged, there's so much to explore there and get involved. And I'll make sure all our classes have that link. Also, Katy's at the Ocean Discovery League, which is super, super cool. So we're going to get you more things that you can shake a stick at to keep the learning going after today's broadcast. Now, Katy and I, before we started live today, we tried so valiantly with like 100 different tech solutions, including just smacking the computer to get her presentation working, and it did not want to go. It worked in our test not too long ago, but today it just didn't want to start. So what we're going to do is I'm going to play on mute our last time we had Katy on, and she's going to talk over herself in something that's novel for Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. So Katy, we're on this wild ride together. I'm going to turn it over to you, start our thing, and if you want to lead us in, you are good to go.
Perfect. This is going to be ocean presentation improv here today. And this presentation actually is one that I turned into the paper for If Then. So hopefully we can share the link to that with you. And I have no idea how long these slides are going to go for. So here's me when I was little on a boat and, starting to get excited about the ocean and about science. And I probably didn't catch any fish. I was very, very lucky to get the opportunity to learn how to scuba dive when I was in high school. And this is one of my first ever scuba dives. I don't dive quite so much anymore and mostly use robotic vehicles now to go into the deep sea. And this is a photo from when I was in college. This is one of the very first expeditions I went on, and this was to the Black Sea to look for ancient shipwrecks. So what you see there is Argus. That's a robotic vehicle that we were putting in the water to go take a look at some targets. Later, I became the vice president of the Ocean Exploration Trust, which is a nonprofit organization that runs the ship exploration vessel Nautilus, which some of you may have heard of. They live stream live exploration from the bottom of the ocean, and it's really, really awesome program. So you should totally check it out. And there I learned about coordinating lots of different types of research all over the world and spent a lot of time on big ships using this vehicle here. This is called Hercules. So why do we want to learn about the ocean? Why is it important? Why do we care? And the answer is there are a lot of reasons. And we're going to go through some of those, and some of them involve the water itself. So some scientists study the chemistry of the water. So like, what are the different chemicals that are in the water, the saltiness, the temperature, all kinds of things. And what is in the water affects how the water moves. So the physical oceanography is really important, and that's what drives currents, tides, how water moves and circulates all over the earth, which then, of course, affects the things that live in the ocean. This, what you see here, is a brine pool. It's a super salty area in the Gulf of Mexico. So the movement of the water, what is in the water, what is on the bottom of the ocean, all affects the biology. So what lives in the ocean. And a lot of people study this both to just understand the basic systems and what is the ecology of the deep sea, but also it's really important source of food for a lot of people. Billions of people rely on fish for their major sources of protein. This is a super cute octopus. I don't think anybody ate him that day. And how the earth works is also extremely important. So the geology, this is a hydrothermal vent. This is an area where water goes down into the cracks of the seafloor and gets superheated by magma that's underneath the seafloor and comes back out. And what you see that black sort of smoke. It looks like smoke, but it's not actually, there's nothing burning. These are chemicals that are coming out of the hot water that are then solidifying, and then it looks like this black smoke, and you have all kinds of amazing ecosystems living here that are based on the chemistry of the earth and not on photosynthesis, which is the sort of base of the food chain up here on land where we have sunlight. So they use a process called chemosynthesis to create food, and then that sustains this unbelievable ecosystem down the bottom of the ocean. And one more thing that's very important that we look at, and really was one of the things that got me excited about exploration when I was in college, is archaeology. And that is all about studying how humans interact with the ocean. So this is a shipwreck from Turkey that we found over 10 years ago or so. It's probably about 1,000 years old. And shipwrecks are very important to understand because that was how people used to move things around, especially the Mediterranean, which is where we were studying. So is the deep sea, studying the deep sea, super easy? Nope, absolutely not. It's extremely, extremely hard. And there are a lot of challenges that are associated with it. And you might be thinking of why it might be hard to study the deep ocean. What are some of those challenges? Well, it's wet, of course. It's far away. It's remote. It's dark. You have to bring your own lights. There's a lot of pressure on the bottom. It's very deep. There's no air. So it's hard for people to go down really deep. It's salty. The water corrodes. Sometimes it's super cold. Sometimes it's super hot. And it's very expensive to do this kind of work. So we've come up with all kinds of different types of tools to study the deep sea, and a lot of these different kinds are in the paper, in the Frontiers paper. So the sort of workhorse of deep sea exploration and oceanography in general is research vessels. This is the Nautilus. This is the ship that I used to work with. It's over 200 feet long and carries about 48 or so people. And that is where everybody lives and works. And you have your robots that go down the bottom, come back up, process your samples. A really, really important piece of equipment that's mounted to the bottom of the ship is called multi-beam sonar. And this is a sensor that sends pings of sound in a big fan down to the bottom of the ocean. They bounce off the bottom, and then the multi-beam listens for the echoes. So it's it's kind of echo sounder. Sound goes down, bounces back up, and then you're able to measure the time that it takes to go down and the angle that it comes back at. And with that information, you can create pretty accurate maps of the seafloor. So, but this just tells you about the shape of the seafloor. So you can see if there are mountains, if there are valleys, if there are flat areas. But once you know that, then you want to know, well, what's there? What kind of rocks are there? What kind of sediment is there? What kinds of things live there? So there are a whole bunch of different tools that we use to go and what's called a ground truth. So to take a look and see what is there. So submersibles is one way of doing it. This is where people are inside a vehicle and it goes down. It's not connected to the ship, and it has manipulator arms, so they're able to pick up samples. It also has different kinds of sensors and cameras on board. This is a remotely operated vehicle. Again, this is Hercules. This is the one that I used to work with quite a lot. Hercules is tethered to the ship. And actually it works with another vehicle called Argus, and you'll see a little animation in a minute about how those two work together. and they're tethered to the ship so that all of the data and video, everything comes up to the ship so we can see it live in real time. And there are pilots on board that control the vehicles, and scientists on board that tell the pilots what they want to look at, what they want to pick up, all that sort of thing. So here's Nautilus at the surface. And if you go down that tether, you'll come to Argus. And then there's another neutrally buoyant tether that goes to Hercules. So Herc is down at the bottom and sends information up to Argus. Again, the video, the sensor information, and that goes all the way up the cable to the ship. And on the ship, there's a satellite dish that sends all of this back down to shore. And that allows us to share what we're doing with many people all over the world. So students, classrooms can tune in and ask us questions about what we're doing. And we can also share with other scientists around the world, because you can only have like 50 people on a boat. And if you find something that you weren't expecting and you don't have a specialist in that on board, then you might need to call somebody else in, like phone a friend to ask what is this thing and should we take a closer look at it. So this is what a typical control room looks like on board a ship. You have a lot of computer screens, video screens, and your whole team that's on board. And not the whole team at once. You actually have little teams of people who switch out every 4 hours or so. So you can have 24-hour operations going all the time, because it's really hard to get to these places. It's really expensive to do this kind of stuff. So you want to get the most out of your time at sea. So autonomous underwater vehicles, or AUVs, are robotic vehicles that go down. And despite all the lines you see, these are just for the launch or the recovery here. It's not tethered to the ship. So this is a kind of vehicle that you would program, launch off the side, and then it goes off and does a mission and comes back. And then you get the data back once it returns. Another area that the Ocean Discovery League, my organization, is working really hard in is low-cost deep-sea technologies. All the things that I've shown you typically cost hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars to buy and operate. And a lot of people can't afford that kind of, that kind of equipment. So we're working on different kinds of technologies that cost a lot less money, are more accessible and easier to use, so that you can maybe not get as good data, but you can at least get a first look. And in so many places, we have no information about the deep sea. Some information is better than nothing. So then you can start to ask more detailed questions. You can start to bring in the bigger assets that are important. So how much of the ocean have we seen? We've been doing this for a long time. 70 or so years we've had these different kinds of ways to see the deep sea floor. Well, I've been doing some math, and I've estimated that based on the number of dives that have happened and a sort of average amount of seafloor that each dive has seen, we've seen a very, 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 very tiny bit of it, about 0.001% of the deep seafloor we've seen. It's about the size or less of the state of Rhode Island, which is where I live. And you can see that white dot there on the map. So there is a lot more to see, and we need a lot more scientists and engineers like many of you to really get excited about the deep ocean and think about how we can explore it, how we can understand it, how we can protect it. So now I'm going to show you a whole bunch of highlights, a lot of things that we've seen, a lot of things that we've discovered in the last 10, 15 years or so. So in the Aegean Sea, in Turkey, again, one of my first loves was archaeology, maritime archaeology, and that's really how I got hooked on deep sea exploration. I had the chance to go to Turkey, and this is in the Aegean. This is, I believe, its name is Knidos F. Knidos is the nearby town where we were working, and we would just name the shipwrecks A, B, C, D, E, F. So this is number F. We all actually got all the way up to Z. So a couple dozen shipwrecks we found in this area. And we would use sonar to scan the seafloor first, and then we would see things that looked like they weren't natural in our sonar records, but we weren't sure what they were. And then we put Hercules in to go and take a look. And we would find things like this. And sometimes those shipwrecks turn out to be modern. Just across the way, also in the Aegean Sea, is the Colombo underwater volcano, which is very close to the island of Santorini. So Colombo is completely underwater, and it's a very bowl-shaped volcano. and there's not a lot of interaction of the water, not a lot of circulation between the water that's inside the bowl and the water that's outside the bowl. And so all these little bubbles that you're seeing coming up are mostly carbon dioxide, and carbon dioxide makes the water more acidic. And it especially so in Colombo because there isn't a lot of mixing with the outside water. So what you're seeing here, you see a lot of orange stuff, white stuff. That's all bacteria and microbes that are living on this chemical rich water, very carbon dioxide rich water, and it's very, very acidic. So nothing else can live here. We didn't find any fish down here, no corals. I think we did find a few anemones here and there away from the hydrothermal vent area, but not a whole lot. It's very, very interesting. And also Colombo last erupted in about 1650 AD and released a lot of carbon dioxide that killed livestock, a lot of cows that were on the shore of Santorini and some people as well. So a little bit further west in the Straits of Sicily in the Mediterranean Sea, again, this is an area where it's a little different geological setting, but this is an area where there's some seafloor spreading. So we were looking for volcanoes, and in fact, we were looking for lava balloons that had erupted in this area and had been documented but never seen on the seafloor before. So that's what we were looking for. This was actually Halloween night in 2011. And somebody was writing in and said, hey, have you ever found any airplanes that were shot down? And we said no. And then about 30 seconds later, here was an airplane on the bottom of the ocean that I'm not sure if this is going to show you, but there's a fasces, the symbol of the fascist party in Italy during World War II. And so this was an Italian plane that was probably shot down in the Battle of Pantelleria in World War II. Now we're going to head across the Atlantic Ocean down to Kikumjeni volcano. I like volcanoes a lot in addition to shipwrecks. So Kikumjeni is another submarine volcano. But the really amazing thing about Kikumjeni is that it on the side of it, there's what looked like in the sonar a big underwater landslide. So it just looked like a big chunk of mud, and we were going to go take a look. It was like the last day of the expedition. We didn't think we were going to find anything exciting, but you can see here, it was super exciting. These mussels that you see, the biggest one was 14 inches long. These are the biggest kinds of mussels that are known in the world. They were octopus, they were brittle stars, you'll see pink sea cucumbers. So the really exciting thing here was that we found this ecosystem in a place where we didn't expect it before. So now we know that maybe if we look at underwater landslides, we might see where methane, organic rich water got squished out by the force of this landslide and is now supporting this amazing ecosystem on the bottom of the ocean. We also sent a National Geographic film crew home right before we found this and said, we're just going to see a pile of mud. It's not going to be very exciting. Don't worry about it. You're not going to miss anything. And then it was hands down the most exciting dive of the year.
That's the way it happens sometimes. One of the joys of exploration.
And now heading up to the Gulf of Mexico. This is a shipwreck that was actually found during with a sonar survey by one of the big oil companies. I can't remember which one. And they said, hey, this looks really interesting. It doesn't look natural. We don't know what this is. The NOAA ship Oceanographic Explorer went to take a look and found that it was a shipwreck. You can see that's a cannon, or they're usually called guns when they're on ships. These are nails sticking up through the copper sheathing that would have been covering the hull. You can see plates and bottles, all kinds of things. And that shipwreck was from before Texas became a state. And I think it was sunk during a hurricane in the 1800s. And now I'm just going to be quiet for a minute so you can watch this because it's really cool. So this was a dive to study the chemistry of the water after the BP oil spill. Can you guys see what that is going underneath Hercules there? You'll see it a little better in a second.
I mean, that's got to be just so satisfying to witness something like that.
Isn't that incredible? You know, if before this, if you had asked me if we would ever see a whale with Herc, I would have said no. But it was a very, very curious sperm whale, and everybody went berserk. It was absolutely incredible, and just circled around Hercules over and over again, just checking it out. On the other side of the spectrum with whales, this is a whale fall, but it's not a natural whale fall. This was a whale that washed up on shore in San Diego. I think it may have been the victim of a ship strike. So dead whale washes up. And there are many biologists who are very interested in how organisms colonize things like whale bodies, and what is the succession of animals that go on them, eat them, and then progress on. So the scientists at the Scripps Institute of Oceanography were particularly interested, and so they were able to tow the dead whale offshore and weight it down. So you see all this line on the bottom, so that would have been attached to the weights, and they were able to sink it. And then they went back regularly over the years to see and to study how this happened. So the little white chunks that you see on the left there, those are the bones. And this was just a couple of years after it was sunk. So it didn't take long for, you know, the meat, the flesh, the blubber, all the major parts of the whale to be eaten away by the organisms that live there. And then the microbes are now taking over to work on the bones. You can see that vertebrae going up into the background there. A few fish here and there, some anemones. Rosebud whale fall is what this is called if you're interested and would like to look it up. And then our last video is from the Seychelles. And this video actually uses one of the cameras that my team designed and built called Makanu. It's a super easy to use little camera that can go to 1,500 meters, so almost a mile deep in the ocean. And we had a colleague in the Seychelles who took it down, and she led the very first expedition led by someone from the Seychelles, which is very, very exciting. One of the things that we're really working on is enabling people to explore their own waters in their own countries, because most of the resources, most of the research vessels and big robots are owned by the United States or scientists in Europe or Japan. And there are many, many countries around the world that don't have these kinds of resources. So this was a very exciting dive for Sheena. She's the scientist who did this. She had a little bait ball. So that's why all these little shrimp and fish are fighting over something that is just out of view. And then here comes a shark. Bum, bum, bum.
Yeah, really. Stage left comes the signal.
Exactly. So super awesome. And now we're working on sort of the next generation technology for being able to explore the deep sea in a much more affordable, much easier to use way. So how'd I do?
That was amazing. And for the audiences that are like wildly confused who came in after we began, so yes, we had to play Katy's last video as her video for this time. So we are here live, I promise. That was just us.
I'm live.
I think we actually look better. We've aged like fine wine or cheese. It's very exciting.
I think we're doing pretty okay. Yeah. Also, that was in January, so it's like dead of winter. Super pale.
More fun. Well, thank you so much for a literal and figurative deep dive into so many cool things in your career of ocean exploration. What we're going to do now is kick off with a little Kahoot together. 4 quick questions, test some understanding, have some fun for bragging right to the two of us. And then we're in elementary. We're going to head to you for our first question after that. So I'm going to bring up our Kahoot. I'll highlight the game pin again. For those who are new to Kahoot, the faster you answer, the more points you get. And again, what you win is our everlasting respect. So that's pretty cool. Feel free to chime in, get your device. Jim's World Academy, you guys running around to grab your solo devices is amazing in the background. So thank you for that and the enthusiasm. We're going to get underway. Miss Painter, BTL, Gems, you guys are coming to all of you YouTubers. Please get ready with your questions as well. And Katy, if you want to help us out with any hints with these answers with seconds to spare, you are welcome to chime in. But let's get started. Here we go. You can still join if you haven't started yet. That's totally fine. We got lots of time. 3, 2, 1. All right. True or false? The deep ocean is the largest habitat on Earth, the most space of any kind of ecosystem. What do we think? True or false? Now, worth noting, 70+% of the world is ocean. Like, to a best approximation from an alien, the Earth is just water. And then there's a lot of water. It goes down very far. So that might be your hint for this query.
It goes down really far.
Really far. Oh, and everyone got this. The number of times that everyone gets the same answer, I can count on one hand in the history of it. Yes, it's what, 95, 99% of the world's habitat is deep ocean. Like, it's absurd how much room is down
Something
there.
like that. Yeah. I mean, if you multiply the area by the depth, it's a whole lot.
Well, Fast Cat has our lead through one question. Let's go to question 2. The deepest point of the ocean is how far down? Is it 5,000 feet, 10,000 feet, 20,000 feet, or over 30,000 feet, which is deeper than Mount Everest is tall? What do we think? I'll tell you this, more people, I think this is still true, although it's getting close. For the longest time, more people had been to the moon than had been to the bottom of the deepest part of the ocean. I think it's comparable now.
I think it is comparable now. But for many, many, many decades, it was 2.
2 guys, and then it was James Cameron, and now a bunch of people have gone. But
and now, pressure drop.
How deep it is. And most of you got this right too. You guys are killing it as an audience. Way to go, everybody. Let's see what that does to our leaderboard. Fast Cat keeps our lead as we go to question 3. All right, 2 more questions, and then San Antonio, we're coming to you first. There's life on the ocean floor.
I really hope you get this one. If you're sleeping through the last 20 minutes.
I chose a particularly nice picture for this one because
I love Christmas tree worms.
They are really quite exceptional.
I made an advent calendar for my kids that have all animals that have Christmas-ish names. So Christmas tree worm is on there. The favorite, though, is the donkey dung sea cucumber.
Nice. Oh, that's beautiful. What a glorious name. Sounds like it was named in Newfoundland, where I am. Strange names abounding. Most of you got this right. So yeah, the seafloor, as deep as it may be, as much pressure, as cold, as dark as it is teeming with life. There's tons of things down there, like Christmas tree worms, which make it such an exceptional place to go study. Now, that changes up our leaderboard radically. Now, this is a multi-select. So this is more than one answer is correct. It might be 2, it might be all 4. What kinds of jobs can you have on an ocean exploration vessel? Katie was showcasing all sorts of really cool things she's had the chance to go on. Can you be a cook? Can you be a submersible pilot, a biologist, a photographer, all of the above? Write as many as you think there are. Let's see. This is a tricky one.
There are a lot of important people that you might not think about on a research vessel.
And the answer is all 4 of them. So cook is the least one. Yeah, there are cooks in every exploration vessel. Because
who's going to cook? I mean,
you can't do science if you can't eat. Yeah.
And there's not just one cook, usually. There's usually multiple cooks because they've got to feed people 3 meals a day plus snacks. And if you're lucky, you'll get cookies in the afternoon.
Ooh, I love cookies. I'm Mr. Cookie.
It's a good day when it's a cookie afternoon.
Our winner of the Kahoot for bragging rights is Agent Hawk. Way to go if you are Agent Hawk. There's people cheering in Gems World Academy class, so I'm assuming it's you. But I want to harp on this before we dive in with questions. You know, if you want to be a world-class scientist like Dr. Katy, you can do that. You can go to school for a long time. You can explore. We can maybe learn more about her throughout today's question period. But like, if you want to cook, if you want to be a photographer, if you want to be a business person or a lawyer or any number of jobs, you can find yourself on one of these amazing vessels getting to do and be involved with these cutting-edge discoveries, which is what's so neat about it. So whatever you're keen on, consider this as an option for your career because it's pretty special out there.
That's right. We need a lot of different kinds of people. If you just put 50 PhD biologists on a boat, I mean, you're probably not going to get very far.
I would watch that TV series though.
You need a lot of people with a lot of different skills.
Yeah. Mervyn Elementary, we're going to head to San Antonio. Miss Santiago's class, if you guys want to come on up for the first question, you are good to go. Come right on up to the camera. You're unmuted and nice to have you in. Hi, robotics team. Hello.
So we both have questions.
Perfect.
I was wondering, why do you leave the ships in their resting place?
And what's the second one?
And the second one is that, have you ever found the Doko shipwreck?
Ooh, a local shipwreck?
No, Dokos.
I don't know that one. So no, I have not. Can you repeat the first question again?
And why do you leave ships in their resting place?
Oh, that's a great question. That's a very a hotly debated question in archaeology. One of the reasons is that it's very stable on the seafloor. And so when you bring a shipwreck or any artifacts up out of the ocean, then they start to degrade. And when they start to degrade, then you need to conserve them. You need to protect them. You need to it actually involves a lot of chemistry to be able to protect those artifacts that come up off of the seafloor. And it's sort of your responsibility if you bring things up off of the seafloor, an entire ship or even just little pieces of it, then it's your responsibility to protect and conserve that in perpetuity, which means forever. So you really want to be careful about the things that you bring up to ensure that they're really important and that you have the resources to take care of them for a long time. And if you leave them on the seafloor, it's cold, it's pretty stable environment. And if you leave them there, then they're probably going to last a lot longer than if you bring them up and don't take care of them. So the kind of two options are leave them where they are and study them, learn as much as you can by just looking at them, or bring them up and take care of them in perpetuity.
Yeah, cool questions, guys. Those are awesome.
That's
and
a great
by the
question.
way, I did a quick search on the Doko shipwreck. So the oldest shipwreck known to archaeology is the Doko shipwreck. So
the Doko shipwreck?
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to look that up.
I encourage our classes, if you weren't aware of this in advance, do look it up because it looks super, super cool. Way to do some research in advance of the program, guys.
Yeah, well done.
Gems World Academy, we're going to head to you guys, BTL crew. If you guys want to share in the chat, I don't know if your mic's working, but you can also flick that on and we can come to you in a minute in Burlington. But let's head to our Chicago crew, fourth graders. Unmute and come on in. Hey, guys.
Hi. How does the shipwreck affect the ecosystem?
Oh, cool question.
Super cool question. Shipwrecks affect the ecosystems in different ways. Some can be positive. So actually the shipwreck video, one of the shipwreck videos that I showed you, there were some octopus that lived in the little amphoras. Those are the jars, the clay jars that people would have carried oil or wine or other things around. They're like the 55-gallon drums of the ancient world. So they can become sort of artificial reefs, artificial meaning fake or man-made, and reef meaning a sort of oasis of life. So like organisms can use it to live and build their homes in there and live in there. So that can be a sort of positive thing about shipwrecks on the seafloor. A negative thing about shipwrecks on the seafloor, especially modern shipwrecks, is that you have fuel in them, you have oil in them, and when the metal starts to corrode and degrade, then they can pollute the water, and that can be very, very bad for the fish and the other animals that live around there.
These are really thoughtful questions to kick off a Q&A. You guys rock.
Well done.
Painters class, grade 8 geography, Salem. If you guys want to flick on your mic, I can come to you anytime you want. There you are. Hi, guys. Welcome. Hi, Miss Painter. Miss Painters.
What's the most interesting thing you've seen underwater?
No pressure.
No pressure whatsoever. It's going to be the thing we find next.
We get this answer a lot. A lot of scientists say this. That's really interesting. So that's genuinely how you feel. Every time you go out, you're just excited for some new discovery, whatever that may be. That's always the next best thing.
Almost every expedition, there's something new. It's incredible. And like you saw how much we've seen. Can I do like Rhode Island is in over here? Whatever. It's tiny, the amount that we've seen. So just think about the number of discoveries that are waiting to be made. It's absolutely incredible. And like we've found dozens of shipwrecks already. There's got to be thousands out there.
Thousands,
yeah.
Endless thousands.
Tens of thousands.
Think of how long we've been exploring the world via the water, right?
Right.
And,
so that's what I'm really excited about. You know, some people like they find one and then they spend the rest of their lives studying that one. And I'm sure they learn a lot about it. I'd rather find them all and then decide which is the most important one to spend a lot of time studying and learning more about.
It's the golden age of ocean exploration. Like truly, like if you're keen on it, there are more vessels now doing more research, scanning things, sending robots down, sending submersibles down. Like if you're keen to explore the largest habitat on planet Earth and shipwrecks and animals and everything, it's like the best time ever. Like you can get out and be involved with these ships. In fact, there are a lot of student programs now. Again, we talked about Lego Submerge just as a lead in with robotics, as a springboard to learning more about this. Like it's a really exciting time. And this is true of the deep ocean and of rainforests on this planet. But every time we go, we discover new things. Like literally every time. You can find new species. You can find new phenomena that we've never discovered before, not to mention things like shipwrecks. Like Dr. Katy, you got a very Cool gig.
It's truly incredible. And especially with the technology, like you mentioned, with satellite technology, like you guys don't think about it right now because you've basically grown up with being able to do things like this, but this didn't exist like 10 years ago. It's really incredible being able to share what you're doing live with students, with other scientists who can contribute to the science in real time without having to wait for somebody to say, find an animal and then study it and spend years studying it and then publishing it and then it getting out there and then somebody else happening to read that paper and then wanting to do more with it. Now we can find something and just call up whoever is the world expert on that organism and say, hey, we found this thing where we didn't expect it, or we found this thing and we don't even know what it is. And we're able to just, accelerate the exploration and discovery in a way that never before was possible.
So cool. We had 2 programs from a live research vessel last month, and we've got one coming up in the end of November too with the RV Falcor 2. So if you're keen to be live on a ship like this, amazing vessels, just to keep the learning going when we're done. We're going to take a YouTube question, and then we're going to do another round with all of you. So get ready with those questions. Cookie wants to know, what do you do day to day in your job? What does a regular Tuesday look like for you, or is there a regular Tuesday?
A regular Tuesday these days is a lot of meetings, a lot of spreadsheets right now. So I founded a nonprofit called the Ocean Discovery League about 3 years ago. And we've just, in the last 3 years, have done a lot of research. We're trying to get a lot of grant. So funding is really important to be able to do all the things that we're trying to do. And right now we're working on some of the new technologies. So we're working with an engineering company based in California to create a next generation system that'll be commercially available, hopefully, if assuming all goes well, to be able to study the deep sea for much, much less money and make these systems more affordable, more accessible for more people around the world. And in addition to that, also working on training programs. So how can we use these technologies to train people so that they're able to use it? And if that's not enough, we're also working on looking at the history of deep sea exploration. Where have we actually explored in the last 70 or so years that we've had these kinds of tools to be able to get down and see and collect data in the sort of way that we do today? And what we found is that most of those dives are in the waters of the United States and Japan and New Zealand. And there's been very little exploration in most other places in the world. So what we're working on right now is trying to set out a global strategy for exploring the rest of the world in an unbiased way. And so we're working on I know I'm super pumped about this. I'm not launching it until next year, so don't tell anybody.
We're not live on YouTube at all.
Exactly, no problem. So we're working on creating a lot of different programs that we're going to be launching and then going out on boats and doing a lot of the really cool stuff. Once we have this cool tech, once we have this global plan, and working with a lot of different scientists and engineers and all kinds of other people around the world to do it. So stay tuned. There's a lot of exciting things to come really soon.
Amazing.
Right now, it's a lot of meetings and spreadsheets.
That always is the way. Well, Katie, I want to try and see if we can sneak in 6 questions in 5 minutes. So we're going to do a rapid fire round.
Let's do it.
So 2 quick ones, one quick one online. Alvin, the iconic research vessel of all time. Have you ever been on Alvin?
I have been on a cruise that had Alvin on it, but I didn't get to dive.
That's the stroke Alvin from the outside.
Exactly. But that was the test cruise for Jason, for the new Jason system. And I was involved in the controls of the camera system for that. I was a sort of student internship for a summer. So that was cool. But I have not been able to go in a submersible yet.
You got to get out there. It's one of my all-time dreams in my life is to be in a submersible. So I hope we all get the chance.
One of these days.
Merton Elementary, we're coming to you. Come on in, guys. Take us away. Hey.
Hi. How can bacteria in the ocean harm or affect divers?
Ooh.
And how do y'all program the AOVs?
Interesting question.
Yeah. Okay. 2 questions. How are we going to do this under 6 minutes? Bacteria in the ocean. Well, usually in the deep ocean. So bacteria and humans haven't sort of evolved to coexist in the deep ocean. So I am not aware of any deep ocean bacteria that can affect humans. That said, pollution that runs off of off of land into the ocean can very much affect people. Surfers, swimmers, scuba divers, whoever. If you live near an ocean and sometimes in the summertime, you might have a closed beach because there's too much pollution going off and then creating algal blooms or other microbiology blooms that can affect and make people sick. How do you program AUVs with a computer? So they have particular kinds of software that you can use to send them on a mission to collect whatever data you want to collect. And so I don't know if you're on a robotics team, but it's probably very similar to what you're doing on a robotics team.
I've heard it
if you are.
described like playing a video game. Like ultimately, like some of the same things that we do when we play games are what lead to.
Well, but the AUVs you program in advance. You drop them off and you send them off. So that's different from like the live control of an ROV, which is the remotely operated vehicle. Yeah.
Thanks for the great questions, Merton Elementary. That was awesome. And by the way, classes, if you have extra questions after the broadcast is done, please email them to us at Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. We'll get them to Katie. We'll see if we can get you some extra answers after the show is done. BTL, our Burlington Troop, we're coming to you, and then Gems, you're next. So hello, Ontario. Welcome in. Unmute. Come chat with us. Hi, guys. Your mic. So we'll have to do, for whatever reason, your mic isn't working. We didn't get a chance to test it in advance. Write your question in the chat on the side. We'll say a big hello and so nice to have you in, and you write it there and we'll share your question in just a second. Okay. Hi guys. So nice to have you. Sorry for the tech troubles. While we're waiting for that question to come in, we are going to bring up Gems World Academy. Come on back in Chicago and take us away. Hi. Unmute too. Everybody unmute.
Okay.
There we are.
Have you ever seen the Titanic? And also, I'm a scuba diver.
Are you? That's awesome. Congratulations. I have seen Titanic. I went on an expedition in 2004, so 20 years ago now. It was called Return to Titanic, and we went back to look at the degradation of the shipwreck. So like the metal is corroding, it's rusting. They have all these little rusticles coming down, and so we went out to check it out in 2004, and you might be able to find some video footage of it.
Amazing. And I also want to highlight, as a scuba diver, you'll know this, but kids in these classes today, Patty Bubble Maker, from 8, you can start on the path to being a scuba diver. And at 10, you can get full, like, open water, which is exactly what I have. It's like
I didn't know that.
Open up
water this afternoon.
So young, you can go and become a scuba diver, and it opens up 70% of the world to you. It's one of the coolest things on planet Earth. So I hope all our kids take the chance to become a diver, even if you're in the middle of a continent, nowhere near water. There are pools and
You can still do it.
Yep.
There are pools, lakes, reservoirs, all kinds of stuff.
BTL, so I know your mic's not working, but your question is awesome. What's the coolest thing you found in the ocean, Katie? No pressure at all.
Oh man, no pressure at all. I don't know. There's so many things. I can't say one, but studying underwater volcanoes is really, really amazing. Just being able to see the earth and so much energy and all these processes and unbelievable animals that live down there out of the sunlight is absolutely incredible. And like I said, sort of at the beginning, shipwrecks have been my passion since the beginning of my journey in deep sea exploration. So I'm always very excited to find shipwrecks, ancient ones, modern ones, whatever. They're all really, really interesting and really fun to share with all of you.
I have never got to do deep exploration like Dr. Katie has, but those would be exactly my 2 answers. Like, shipwrecks are amazing. Undersea volcanoes are epic and awesome. It's so cool. Again, it's the best job in the world you've got. Now, I
can't complain
all day. We're going to take one more question. You did brilliantly in the rapid fire round. We're going to head to Miss Painter's grade 8s, and then we'll wrap up from there and bring in all you classes to say a big thank you and farewell. So, Salem, come on in. Take us away.
How do you get the financial stability to purchase and sustain your personal equipment and deep sea tech?
And
if you know the answer, let me know. It's really hard to do. Right now, we apply for grants from the federal government, from private foundations, and my organization ODL is still very young. We were only 3 years old, and we've done pretty well for the past 3 years. But being able to have enough money to plan in the years to come is one of the biggest challenges. And so getting multi-year awards, but then also looking at how can we say work with a company to create a system that then maybe can be sold and have that be a part of our funding to then support the mission that we have, and that's to explore the deep ocean and broadening access to it. So yeah, that's an excellent question. It's not something that people usually think about, but it's super important because that's the only way we can do this.
I've done 1,500 broadcasts, and this is one of the best Q&As I've ever seen. Like, you guys are so on the ball, so keen, so much research in advance. We stumped the scientists. We talked about finances. We did everything together. So, Dr. Katy, it was so much fun. I want to highlight for all our kids. I'm going to email this to you all in a minute, but if you want to check out our Epic If Then series with more broadcasts in this series, we've got more next week. Please do check that out. If Then She Can for more. Frontiers for Young Minds, the amazing first Lego submerged.
I'm going to put in the chat too. Sorry to cut you off, Jesse, but this is the paper that was based on this talk. So like Jesse said, I gave this talk before, and then we wrote the paper based on this one. So you'll see a lot of similar things in it. There you go. And then I put the link in the chat, so you can just click on it.
Amazing.
So yeah, check it out.
Incredible. Well, lots of resources. Keep learning going. What we do to wrap up every broadcast, I'm going to bring in Merton Elementary, our BTL crew. If you want to flick your camera back on, anyone at home on YouTube, thank you so much, guys. Have a wonderful day. And bye for now, everyone. We'll see you all soon. Thank you so much.